Assalamu alaikum dear students. I hope so you all are doing fine. I'm your biology teacher and I'm here with another lecture of biology from class 10th biology book. So dear students, in today's lecture we are going to discuss a topic from chapter number 11, that is homeostasis. And the topic that we are going to discuss is about osmoregulation, actually osmoregulation in plants. Girls, you are already familiar with the topic homeostasis. You know what is homeostasis. But let me recall it for you. Homeostasis is actually ability of living organism by which they resist to the changes that are taking place in their external environment. Or we can say that homeostasis is the ability of the living organism by which they maintain constant or nearly constant internal condition. This ability is called homeostasis. In our previous lecture, we also have discussed about the importance of homeostasis, that why organisms need to maintain their internal condition constant, because their external environment is constantly fluctuating and it can affect their internal body, the internal system and all the reaction, etc. That's why the organism need to regulate to maintain their internal condition, right? Okay, one of the type of homeostasis is osmoregulation. Now look at the word osmoregulation. We can divide this word into two parts. The first part, osmo, it is actually for osmosis, right? And the second part, that is regulation, it is actually for control. Regulation means control. Like the word osmoregulation is actually a combination of two words. The first half, osmosis, and the second half, regulation. So just by looking at this word, we can say that it is actually the regulation of osmosis. And you know, osmosis is related with the water and solute. We have studied it in the previous class that osmosis is actually is related with the water and solute balance. So osmoregulation is actually the process of regulating the amount of water and solutes in the body. You know that all living organisms are made up of water. They have almost 70% of water in their body. So the process by which the organisms maintain the water level, the solutes level in their body, this is called osmoregulation, right? Okay, in simple word, we can say osmoregulation is actually the homeostasis of water, by which organisms maintain their internal water and solutes balance with respect to their external environment. Okay, now today we are going to discuss about osmoregulation in plants. So as plants are on the total mercy of their environment, depending upon their needs of water, so that's why we can divide plants into 4 different groups depending upon the availability of water in their environment, right? And these groups are xerophytes, mesophytes, hydrophytes and halophytes. All these groups, these 4 groups, are having different types of different amount of water in their environment, and depending upon that availability, these 4 groups show different type of adaptations to control that water solute balance in their body, or to regulate that water solute balance in their body, right? So one by one we are going to discuss these 4 groups of plant, and we will discuss that how they are adapted to their environment, how they control the water solute balance in their body. Now coming toward the first one, that is xerophyte. Again, look at the word xerophyte. Here the word is actually a combination of 2 parts or 2 words. Zero is for dry, xeric environment, dry environment where there is no water, or you can say that very little water is available. The word phyte is for plant, right? So you can, from the word we can say that dry plant, but dry plant doesn't mean that they are dry inside. Dry plant means that in their environment there is very less water available for them. And you know, such type of environment, such type of habitat where there is very less water available is actually a desert, where annual rainfall is very less. So xerophytes are those plants which grow in or which live in dry environment. You can say that deserts plants are actually xerophyte. And some of the example are cactus, opuntia, aloe vera is also one of the example of the xerophyte. Okay, now these are some of the plant. You can see here opuntia, cactus and aloe vera. These are the xerophytic plant. Okay, now coming toward the problem that xerophytes face. As you can see here, it is written that they live in dry environment. So the problem is that very less water is available in their environment. But being a living organism, they need water, because in their body different reactions takes place which required water, right? So they need water. Now they will show some adaptation by which they can survive in such type of environment where there is very less water available. Now coming toward adaptation, as xerophyte have the problem that they have very less water available in the environment, so they will try to conserve water inside their body, right? They will try to retain the water inside their body. So for this they will have deep root system, a well developed root system, proper root system will be there, an extensive root system will be there, so that they can absorb more and more water in the rainy season, or whenever there is rainfall in the desert, they can absorb that water. Plus they can absorb the water from the soil. If there is a very little water available in that soil, they still can absorb that water because of their well developed root system. They have proper root here and proper root system for that. Okay, then they have very few stomata. You know, stomata are pores or opening which are present on the leaves, and stomata are important because they are responsible for the process of gaseous exchange. Without stomata, plant will be unable to exchange gases with their environment, so definitely they will be having stomata. But stomata are also responsible for transpiration. The water molecule can escape through stomata. So for this they will have very few stomata so that they can reduce the transpiration. You know, transpiration is a process by which water molecules escape the plant body in the form of vapor, or you can say the removal of water from the plant body is called transpiration. So they will have few stomata so that they can reduce the transpiration and they can retain the water inside their body. And even if there are stomata, the stomata are present in sunken form. Let me tell you about the sunken stomata. Look at the diagram over here. Unit stomata are present on the lower epidermis in terrestrial plant, inland plants, right? So this one is the lower epidermis. Okay, generally or normally the stomata are present in this epidermal layer, right? But here in case of xerophytes, they have sunken stomata. Sunken stomata means the stomata are not on the surface. Actually, they are present in a depression, in a pocket-like structure. Here is the stomata. Look, here the stomata is present, and this is called sunken stomata, which is not present at the surface. Instead, it is present in a pocket-like structure. And because of this sunken stomata, the rate of transpiration is reduced because the stomata is not in direct contact with the atmospheric air or with the outside environment. So that's why the transpiration is reduced here. Okay, so they will have few stomata, they will have sunken stomata, and this will reduce the transpiration. By doing so, they can conserve the water inside their body, right? Okay, there's another modification or adaptation in these plants, that they have very thick waxy cuticle. And you know, cuticle also reduce water loss. This also reduce transpiration. Cuticle is actually a layer of wax. It is a waxy layer, and it is actually water repellent. So it prevents the escape of water from the plant body. So the whole surface of the xerophyte is covered with cuticle, and very thick waxy cuticle is present, so which reduce the rate of transpiration in such plant. And most of the xerophyte, not all the xerophyte, but many xerophytes have succulent organs. Succulent organs means such type of organs in which they can store the water for future use. And let me show it over here. Okay, so this is the aloe vera, and I think you all are familiar with aloe vera. You know aloe gel. So that aloe gel is actually the stored water. Yes, look at here. This is the leaf of the aloe, and inside this leaf the gel like material is present. So this is called a succulent plant or a succulent organ, because in this plant the water can be stored in special type of tissue. So xerophyte also have succulent organs, or they are succulent, in which they store the water for their future use. Okay, cactus is also one of the succulent xerophyte. Okay, in the xerophyte, in most of the xerophyte, the leaves are modified and they are reduced in the form of spines. As you can see here in the diagram, in Opuntia, the leaves are not present. They are just in the form of spines, in the form of thorns, right? And because of this leaf spine, the surface area is reduced. When the surface area is less, there will be less transpiration, right? So their stem become photosynthetic. As you can see in the diagram over here, the stem is green. So this stem become photosynthetic. The function of the leaf, that is photosynthesis, is performed by this stem, and the leaf is reduced. The leaf is just in the form of a spine to reduce the surface area, or actually to reduce the transpiration. Okay, so these were the adaptation of xerophyte, and by these adaptations, by these modifications, the xerophytes can conserve the water inside their body, and they can survive in an environment where there is very less water available. Okay, now coming toward the second group of the plant, that is mesophyte. Meso is actually for moderate. Meso means mid, middle or moderate. Phyte again means plant, right? So these are medium plant, or you can say moderate plant. Again, moderate means moderate water availability, right? So because these groups are on the basis of water availability in their environment, that's why the first half of these words always indicate the water availability in their environment. So mesophyte, meso means medium, and actually the word medium here show that medium water, moderate water is available in their environment. These are the terrestrial plants, land plants, which live where sufficient quantity of water is available. Enough quantity of water is available in their environment. They are not desert plant. They are terrestrial plant, land plant. They are not living in the water. They are living in the land, but in their environment, enough water is available for them. The plant which are present around us, like rose, like mango, like apple, maize, corn, clover, these all are mesophytes. Most of the plant around us are mesophytes, and mesophytes have moderate water available in their environment, so they can absorb that water with the help of their roots. They have properly developed root system. They have root hair with the help of which they can absorb water from their surrounding soil. But in their environment, their water availability fluctuates, like it's not same all the time, and that's why their body surface is also covered by cuticle to reduce the rate of transpiration. Sometimes they have very less water available, and sometimes they have more water available. So whenever there is rainy season, whenever they have more water, or when they have sufficient supply of water, they keep their stomata open. The stomata are kept open, and this is to promote the loss of excess water, so that they can get rid of that extra water by the process of transpiration. Let me repeat it again. Whenever there is extra water in their body, and they have extra water in their body, especially in the rainy season when they have plenty of water in their surrounding. So insufficient supply of water, the stomata are kept open by these plants, and this is to promote the loss of water by the process of transpiration, by which they get rid of that extra water. But whenever they have shortage of water, as the water availability fluctuates in their environment, so in dry season when they have shortage of water, they will simply close their stomata and they will reduce the rate of transpiration, so that they can conserve the water inside their body. Okay, now coming toward the next group of plant, that is called hydrophyte. Okay, the hydrophyte is again combination of two words, hydro, water, phyte, plant. We can say that these are aquatic plants. These are the plants which grow in or which live in water, but fresh water, not salty water. Let me tell you about the fresh water, that the water which have very less salt concentration is called fresh water, right? And the other type of water which have a lot of salt concentration, marine water, salty water. Okay, so those plants which are aquatic but which grow in fresh water, which have less salt concentration, like in rivers, in ponds, in lakes, etc., or in wet soil, the soil which is present near the river or near the lakes, etc. Such type of plants are called hydrophytes, and some of the example are water lily, wolfia, pistia. These are some of the example of hydrophytes. This one is water lily, and this one is pistia. Pistia is also commonly known as water cabbage, because its leaves resemble that of cabbage. But these two are hydrophytes. So coming toward their adaptation, by looking at their environment, we can say that they have plenty of water, and when there is plenty of water in their environment, the water will keep on entering their body, because water always move from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. So they will face a problem that they will be having a lot of water in their body. Water will constantly get into their body by the process of osmosis. Because they don't need any further water, the water is already entering through their whole surface, so they will have very less developed roots. Their roots are not properly developed, and they do not have any root hair, because they don't need root hairs. So water just enter by the whole surface of their body. They have a lot of water in their body, so the problem is that they need to get rid of that extra water, right? So for this, they will have broad leaves. Look at the diagram over here. You can see the leaf surface area is very much high, and in both of the diagram you can see that they have broad leaves. So broad leaves increases the surface area of the leaf, and when the surface area of the leaf increases, it means they will have a lot of stomata, and more transpiration will take place through this, right? So they will have broad leaves, because of which the rate of transpiration increases and they can get rid of that extra water. Plus they have large number of stomata, but on the upper epidermis. You know, plant leaf has two epidermis, the upper one and the lower one. Mostly on terrestrial plants, the stomata are present on the lower epidermis to reduce the rate of transpiration, because the lower epidermis is not directly exposed toward the sunlight, toward the light rays, right? So as a result, they can reduce the rate of transpiration. But as hydrophytes wants to get rid of that extra water, so their stomata will be on the upper epidermis, so that they can face the sunlight directly, and the rate of transpiration is very high in this case. Now coming toward the next one, the last group of plant on the basis of osmoregulation is halophyte. Halo means salt, NaCl, and phyte means plant. So these are the plant which grow in that type of area which have a lot of salt, or you can say where the salinity is very much high. So they live in salty water, you know, sea water is salty water, or salty marshes, the seashores, etc., the area which is present near the sea which have a lot of salt concentration. So they are present there, and the examples are sea grasses, mangrove, etc. You can see in the diagram over here, sea grasses and mangroves, right? So these are the plants which are halophytes. Now by looking at their environment, we can say that they have plenty of water, but it is not so. The reason is that yes, water is present in their surrounding, but that water is having a lot of salt as compared to their body. So the salt concentration in their environment is high as compared to their body. It makes their environment as hypertonic solution and their body as hypotonic solution. In the previous class, you have studied that water always moves from hypotonic to hypertonic. So they face a problem that they can lose their water, right? So the water, because of the salt concentration, the water move out of their body. Although water in their surrounding is present in pretty much quantity, but because of that salt concentration, they face a problem that water leave their body because of that salt concentration. So they will show some adaptation like xerophytes. They need to conserve the water inside their body, and for this, first of all, they will absorb the salt from the external environment by active transport. By doing so, actually they are making their internal environment as hypertonic, and when it become hypertonic, they can easily absorb water, right? When they will absorb extra salt from their environment, they will make their own body hypertonic, and so that they can absorb the water easily, right? And the second thing is that they can store the excess salt in special type of cell, because if you taste the sap of such plant that is too much salty, which shows that they can store the water inside their cells, and even they can excrete out the salt from the glands on leaves. There are special type of glands present on their leaves by which they can get rid of that extra salt, right? And they, by active transport, first of all they absorb the salt from the surrounding, they make their body hypertonic, then they can absorb the water from their surrounding, and then because they don't need that extra salt, so they get rid of that salt by storing it, or in special type of cell. Even in some mangroves, they store it in older leaves. The extra salt is stored in older leaves, the leaves become yellow, and when the leaves fall from that plant, they can get rid of that extra salt. And even in some, there are special type of glands on their margin of leaf by which they excrete that extra salt which comes into their body with that water, right? So they are not actually salt lover, they are salt tolerant plant. They can tolerate such type of environment where there is a high amount of salt is present. Okay, so that was all about the osmoregulation in different groups of plant.